Ukraine claims its air defenses shot down a Russian Su-35 fighter during a major air battle despite mounting battlefield pressure. Russia's elite Su-35 fighter reportedly brought down, as Kyiv claims another significant success in the air war. Did a Patriot air defense ambush strike again? Ukraine claims the intercept despite ongoing shortages of interceptor missiles. Did a Russian Su-35 really go down? Newly released footage is said to show the burning wreckage after the reported shootdown. Ukraine's Air Force said its forces shot down a Russian Su-35 fighter aircraft during combat operations on the Eastern Front, marking another claimed loss for Moscow's Air Force. The Air Force said another Russian air terrorist had been eliminated, describing the operation as a successful strike against a frontline combat aircraft. Ukraine's 3rd Army Corps later said the Su-35 was brought down inside its area of responsibility during ongoing military operations along the Eastern Front. The unit also released a video it claimed showed the burning wreckage of the downed Su-35, although the footage has not been independently verified. The Su-35 is regularly used by Russia to launch glide bombs from positions behind Russian-controlled territory, allowing strikes while remaining outside many Ukrainian air defense zones. Separate reports suggested the fighter may have been destroyed during a carefully planned Patriot air defense ambush, rather than in a conventional air-to-air engagement. According to open-source analysts, a Ukrainian Patriot missile battery had been deployed near the Kursk border to target Russian aircraft operating close to the front line. Reports also said the Russian pilot ejected safely before the fighter crashed, although there was no immediate official confirmation from Moscow. Previous Patriot ambush operations have reportedly destroyed Russian Su-34 strike fighters, Su-35 multi-role fighters and Mi-8 helicopters during the conflict. The Patriot's long engagement range has made it Ukraine's most capable mobile air defense system for intercepting advanced aircraft and incoming aerial threats. However, reports said Kyiv continues to face shortages of Patriot interceptor missiles, limiting the system's use despite intense fighting across multiple fronts. Poland recently donated additional Patriot missiles to Ukraine as NATO members face growing pressure on their own air defense stockpiles. Russian Defense Ministry said the Sever group of forces had taken control of Petro-Ivanovka during its latest operations on the front line. Russian assault troops said they continued advancing around Kostyantynivka despite persistent Ukrainian drone attacks in the area. Russian servicemen said Ukrainian drones remained active throughout the fighting, but claimed their units continued pushing forward. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, Garin, 4 Seeker UAV teams destroyed heavy trucks transporting Ukrainian drones. The same drone unit also claimed it struck railway locomotives that were supporting Ukrainian military logistics operations. Russia's Black Sea Fleet said it destroyed 6 uncrewed enemy surface vehicles during ongoing maritime operations. The Vostok Group also released details of what it described as its operation to capture Kopani in the Zaporizhia region. Russian unmanned systems forces said they carried out strikes against Ukrainian military vehicles and frontline defensive positions. The latest claims formed part of Moscow's daily operational briefing on military activities across multiple sectors of the front. The Kremlin linked its nuclear doctrine, buffer zone push and demands on Kyiv to developments ahead of the NATO summit, using strategic messaging to frame territorial and security claims as prerequisites for any negotiated de-escalation while signaling red lines to Western capitals. Spokesman Dmitry Peskov said nuclear weapons would only be used if Russia's existence was at stake, a formulation intended to reassure some audiences that Moscow sees nukes as a last resort contingency while simultaneously preserving broad ambiguity about what constitutes an existential threat. Peskov claimed Russia was achieving its goals in Ukraine without resorting to nuke escalation, arguing that conventional operations and political pressure had so far met strategic objectives and that nuclear use remained unnecessary and counterproductive to those aims.
This event is attracting great interest, including from us. We will, of course, be following all the news and information coming out of Ankara. In the run-up to the summit, we heard many statements concerning our country. Unfortunately, these were not statements about constructive engagement and dialogue, but rather statements of a confrontational nature. We will see what documents emerge from all that, what statements are made, what papers are signed, and what is said during the bilateral meetings on the sidelines. You know that we are maintaining contact with the Americans through working channels, and we hope that their efforts aimed at directing the situation to a peaceful course will become successful. At least, as the Russian president has repeatedly said, we will remain open to it. Here I would like to remind you that we would prefer to settle this conflict through political and diplomatic means. And only since the Kyiv regime is not ready to engage in peace settlement, we are continuing our special military operation until complete achievement of our goals. As of now, we keep liberating Russian regions, including the Donetsk People's Republic. You know that capture of Kostiantynivka has been a very important step in tactical and strategic regards. Besides this, our armed forces continue to create a security zone or a buffer zone. This work will continue.
Peskov insisted Russia was too responsible to start World War III and described nuclear weapons as a last resort trump card, language meant to reassure global audiences while keeping deterrent ambiguity intact. He said Russia always responds to strikes in any conflict it is involved in, framing retaliatory actions as a consistent, predictable element of Moscow's military posture. He urged Europe to stop seeing Russia as a threat, stop ignoring its concerns and resume dialogue, arguing that renewed diplomatic engagement would diffuse tensions and address security grievances he says have been dismissed. Peskov repeated claims that the special military operation in Ukraine was successful and insisted it had been forced by Western policies, presenting the intervention as both justified and effective in meeting Moscow's stated objectives. The Kremlin said Kyiv and Western policies allegedly forced Russia to create a buffer zone along the border, contending that such measures were defensive necessities to protect against perceived encirclement. Peskov argued the operation was unavoidable because Europe and the US refused to listen to Moscow, portraying diplomatic failure as the proximate cause of military escalation. The Kremlin said Zelensky should pull Ukrainian troops back and legally recognize Russian territory, demanding concrete concessions it frames as prerequisites for any meaningful de-escalation or dialogue. Peskov also claimed the operation had turned into a real war because of Western involvement, asserting that external support for Kyiv transformed limited action into a broader, protracted conflict. These remarks came as Russia launched a third major attack on Kyiv in a week, a sequence that underscored the heightened tempo of the campaign and the urgent stakes observers say are shaping both rhetoric and battlefield decisions. Russia launched another ballistic missile attack on Kyiv, marking the third strike on the Ukrainian capital within a week. Powerful explosions echoed across Kyiv on July 8 as air raid sirens sounded and Russian missiles targeted the city. Fires broke out in Kyiv's Desnyansky and Sviatoshinsky districts after missile impacts, according to the city's mayor. Officials said warehouses and several non-residential buildings suffered damage in the latest round of Russian strikes. Ukraine's Air Force warned of incoming ballistic missiles, sending residents rushing into shelters across the capital. The latest attack comes just days after one of Russia's deadliest barrages on Kyiv left at least 26 people dead. A day before the assault on Kyiv, Russia also struck the southern port city of Odessa, injuring at least 10 people. Ukraine responded by targeting Russia's Shadow Fleet, striking fuel tankers operating in the Sea of Azov. Kyiv said the targeted tankers were supplying fuel to Russian forces stationed in occupied Crimea, according to reports. The Russia-Ukraine war continues to escalate through long-range missile and drone attacks from both sides. Meanwhile, Ukraine continues to face growing shortages of interceptor missiles needed to defend against Russian ballistic attacks.